52 different positions. A little item I picked up from a friend of mine. She and me's been through 29 of them. See that, Mama? Here we have a picture of Mom in her nightie, Dad in his nightie, and Sis in her garter belt. Won't touch the cards.
Mr. McMurphy.
Excuse me, boy. See if you can't tie that down, will you, Jim?
Welcome to our ward.
Well, thank you, ma'am.
My name is Miss Ratchet. I'm the head nurse here. Mr. Warren will show you to your bed. Please leave your things in the cabinet. Now I want you to relax. I want you to get acquainted with your new home. If there's anything you need to know, don't hesitate to ask. You'll have plenty of time to learn all the rules we live by. Go ahead.
Oh!
Sit down, gentlemen, please.
Ma'am?
Sit down, Mr. McMurphy.
That man,
Sit down. Will you please sit down, Mr. McMurphy? I think Mr. McMurphy will remain seated now. Would you take care of Mr. Ellis, please?
Let me get your nails out. Big man like you, Ellis. Let's go get cleaned up.
That's the dude from Hills. The Hills Have Eyes, right?
That guy.
I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see. But I think there was a lot of information that, you know, you kind of have to implicitly understand from the plot of the movie that was like contained within that those deleted scenes, which is why I kind of found it fascinating. You know, even down to like Washington, you know, the guy that is, you know, the orderly that ends up being like, you know, the real person kind of doing the villainy to Jack Nicholson's character. Even down to like his interaction with the guy from Death to Smoochie that I always forget his name.
Vincent Schiavelli.
Yeah, Vincent Schiavelli. Like even down to that interaction, right? With him grabbing the cigarette out of his hand, lighting it like that to show like the power of that instead of just lighting it to his mouth or something and giving it back to him. Which if you've taken any classes on classic film, you know there is a lot of power within the act of lighting a cigarette. I took this whole noir film study class, and the reason that they would have like kind of Humphrey Bogart or like whatever male character in noir films light a woman's cigarette is to show like, I mean, it was kind of a symbolic gesture of both sex and power that, you know, she had a cigarette to his lips, he lit it, and like that. So there's been a lot of film studies about that interaction to have somebody actually grab it out of the hand, light it themselves, and then hand it back to them. Actually, probably from that standpoint, some symbiotically or whatever.
Yeah, it's symbiotic, but it's also doubly hilarious when you're allergic to cigarette smoke. Too.
No, I meant like some symbolic, like the symbolism of it.
Yeah, that was Michael Berryman, by the way, from The Hills Who Have Eyes, and a bunch of other films. He's
the Hills Who Have Eyes.
Oh, there's a couple of hills having eyes over here.
The Hills Who Have Eyes. The whole thing.
I saw a great interview with him about like why he looks the way he does. Because his father worked at like worked out in Los Alamos whenever they were testing the bomb.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But they have him crucified, and throughout the movie nobody really mentions it. But he's literally and then so they have that scene where they're like, "Oh, let me take the nails out of your hands," which is the literal crucifixion. I don't know. There was a lot of fascinating stuff within it that I didn't even think about. And those deleted scenes go on for 15 minutes or something. But we never see him meet Nurse Ratched. We see him in the beginning interacting with the orderlies, and he's really happy to be in a mental institution rather than jail. Some questions I would have asked if I were him.
Reality setting in, buddy.
I would have asked, "Hey, are they capable of keeping me here indefinitely? What are my chances of that?"
That was actually the plot point to Chattanooga that was kind of interesting, where Dennis Hopper played basically a similar type character who was in a mental institution, and he realized that he couldn't leave the mental institution because even after his sentence is up, and he didn't realize that going in, and so they got him out of the mental institution on a technicality. It's like this lawyerly. It's weird. This guy goes crazy and then goes to a mental institution and then learns the law. It's a weird movie.
What I think is interesting is that of course, this is a different time period, but they're allowed to smoke cigarettes inside. And nowadays, when you go to when you're committed, you have to give up all your possessions that you have with you. They put them in a little cubby, and I'm like, cigarettes burn. People could be using that on themselves to burn themselves with.
But I mean, it's kind of when cigarettes aren't really seen as the thing that you can really quit. It's almost a traumatic experience to have that last addiction kind of taken away from you, and to be in a place where you can't do that.
I just don't think they were. No, I think you're giving it too much credit. They weren't even thinking about it. They were still smoking sections in restaurants, for fuck's sake. I mean,
no, but I went to a psychiatric hospital for teenagers
in 1962. You went to one?
No, I mean I went to one in 2010, and they talked about how even a decade before that, people were allowed to smoke because they didn't want them to have to quit that, which is really because I quit smoking, not there, but I quit smoking in general. And it's it's one of the hardest things really to quit. It's probably in some cases easier to quit some drugs than it is to quit cigarettes because it just is
my mom's tried quitting 5 times already, and she's just it's as a former psych major, it's very much I hate saying the term from Freud, but oral fixation. You always need something to chew on or nibble on or whatnot. And
I mean, I have an oral fixation due to anxiety, and that's always been a thing since I was a kid. I would bite my nails, and look now I don't even really do that. My nails are outgrown and weird. But no, but I had to quit.
And we applaud you for it. We're glad that they're.
I had to try to quit smoking. I think because I started really young. I started pretty fucking young, early days of high school, I guess.
My mom was 12 when she started.
Well, I was at a private school for my middle school years, so I didn't really get exposed to it then. But as soon as I got into high school, people had me on a porch. I still remember somebody passing me my first cigarette. I had to try quitting 7 times, and it just kept on because it was just a release. You'd get kind of drunk and kind of heated or something, and just kind of upset about something, and the cigarette would be right there, and everyone it was hard. It's hard to have the discipline if you're going out to bars or something like that to keep yourself away from that at first. There's a whole year where it's very hard to actually quit that. So I think that psychiatrically that's something that could actually drive somebody pretty insane. What they do now in a lot of places, adult facilities, is that they'll have them smoke outside. They don't have them smoke in the actual facility, and then they give them kind of fresh air, and they kind of, give them fresh air because the cigarette is not. And it's opposite of that. But
when I got sent, I remember they did like my blood work, and they're like, "Have you done drugs recently?" And I'm like, I'm like, "Am I going to prison?" They're like, "No, it's fine." They're like, take all the. They're like, if you smoke weed, that's fine. Don't worry about that because we understand you need that. But like, because I had THC tested.
Well, and there's an extra level to being a minor and being placed in these situations, which is that when you're a minor, you don't. And this leads us directly into talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So I'm like, I'm prefacing.
Oh yeah, I remember that movie.
There is a.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. We should talk about it sometime.
There is an aspect to being a minor where you don't have control of your own situation. Your parents do, and have that distinction made within this movie. With like most of the characters, really, like besides I think a couple of the people that in the book that weren't given that right were epileptics, which is kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
Like if you have epilepsy, like because you're going to seize up, you kind of lose your privileges, which still kind of happens within our society with driving. I have friends that have epilepsy that lose their license and they can't drive after that. I mean. Understandably, in some way, because it's like, listen, people that are actively having seizures behind the wheel of the car isn't good, but it still is that same concept of like losing your freedom. And as a minor, you don't really have that freedom, right? Like we have 18 years of our lives where we don't have that freedom. You get finally put into a place. Most people are voluntarily committed to places because they realize they have stuff to work on. Of course, it's coercive because you have your family either pressuring you to be there, telling you you're not going to have a place to live if you don't go there. I'm sure, there's a whole bunch of different coercive ways that people are in there. But the idea that people are voluntary within these institutions is accurate, and I'm happy that they kind of made that distinction. And it's not just it's such a heartbreaking moment for Jack Nicholson. I almost said Jack Black. I don't know why. For Jack, very different movie.
It was heartbreaking for Jack Black too. He was very moved by the film. Yeah.
Jack Black. And all the prisoners like, all right, okay, or all the psychiatric inmates. Yeah. Whoa, Tenacious D is playing it. But anyway, but no, for Jack Nicholson's character, right? It's a heartbreaking moment finding out that he's lost, that he's been committed, which is what happens. I mean, in the legal sense, if you do plead insanity, they're like, listen, you no longer have that sentence. It's like you're not paying for a crime, you're being treated, and you're at the whim of the doctors. But I think that it's absolutely fascinating to have it. It's not even that they're not fucking. Like he thinks, oh, you're fucking me over by not telling me that they have a say over me. It's just like, no, the rest of us just aren't in that position. We're not thinking about that. Why would we be thinking about the fact that you statutory rape somebody and you're committed, like you're here indefinitely because you're insane?
In prison.
So I don't know. That was a long preface, and I'll stop talking now and let everyone else talk.
I saw Nurse Ratched costume, and I'm like, God damn it.
By the way, somebody asked about when I was pulling the Letterboxd one-liners from the classic bit on this show, Movie Night Extravaganza, Letterboxd one-liners. If there was a lot of thirst posting about Nurse Ratched, yes, there is. As there is about McMurphy as well. So much thirst posting. Like, so much. Like, and not funny, just like thirst posting. Like, okay,
there's something about Jack Nicholson that, women
horny
love.
on the TL. Let's go. We get it.
I'm sure more for Jack Nicholson than Jack Black.
Jack Black, come on the show.
Does he have a cameo?
By the way, School of Rock, directed by Richard Linklater.
I love School of Rock.
That all the time. But School of Rock, we were talking about it with Ben, like directed by Richard Linklater. Fucking insanity that's a movie that Richard Linklater directed.
Because it's so. I'm a huge fan of Linklater's stuff. Like I said, like it was amazing to me to watch Waking Life now after seeing before sunrise, before sunset, et cetera, and like being like, oh my God, these are like basically the best movies about romance I've ever seen. Whereas when I saw it as a kid, I'm like, huh? What's up with these two? Who cares? I don't give a shit about this. And then kissing oh my God. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's a kissing movie. Yeah.
Grandpa, but like, is this a kissing book?
but then like to see Waking Life as an adult and be like, oh, I get to see another scene with these two. Oh my god, that's so great! I'm so stoked to see this. That's awesome. But anyway, that's a story about movies I've seen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, but I don't know.
And not the movie we're ostensibly discussing, by the way. But don't worry, Forrest has 10 more minutes about smoking.
One flew over the old cuckoo's nest.
One flew that ding-o-dang-o cuckoo's nest. Tell you, man.
It took like 3 months to film the movie too.
Yeah,
like
and they waited for Jack too, which
so it's like, wow, they waited forever. But then also too, the filming period didn't take long.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it's all in one place, you could probably sit there and bang out a bunch of scenes because you're not worrying about like except for a few scenes, it doesn't matter what time of day it is.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, yeah, it could be.
Hackett was also was considered for the role.
We watched that clip. I'm sure everyone was spacing out by that point, but we watched that clip where Michael Douglas was talking about it. He mentioned Gene Hackman. Fascinating.
Wait, he's on Milosh with an H on the end of it.
And then I didn't hear anything else he said. No.
I was hard out. I was out. Forget it. I'm out. I won't listen to that guy anymore.
So I'll try to pull up this clip that I put on Twitter last night for in general, but like it's during the time they're filming One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the BAFTA award for Chinatown, Jack Nicholson won it and was in the middle of filming, and it makes sense.
This is good.
That.
Yeah.
I gotta pull it up. So we can vamp, but no, but it's kind of fascinating that it's fascinating that it's that 3-month time period, right? Like that makes perfect sense. You can't leave that set to go. You can't leave that set to go somewhere else. So he has to kind of accept that.
And he's like in every scene, so.
Yeah,
he is. There's a lot of Jack Nicholson. There's a lot of McMurphy. Whole lot of McMurphy. Yeah, exactly. It's it makes sense, right? And it makes sense that think about your method actors too, like your Daniel Day-Lewis's and things along those lines. I can only imagine how that would have played out. Where maybe they get a little bit too into the role. Jared Leto, right? He does a lot of that stuff, apparently, to the disdain and annoyance of everybody on the set.
Well,
method acting
with
Shia LaBeouf.
It's it's Jared Leto's entire thing. Like, there's no reason for him to be in a movie besides his extreme method acting, right? Like,
what isn't his thing? Talent. All right, roll the clip.
He's too good looking to have talent.
I guess.
But I mean, that is white. Like that is when you use method acting as a gimmick. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you're like, oh well.
Coming up next week, Jared Leto. Yeah. AKA the worst Joker.
To read the nominations for the Best Film Actor of the Year is a much sought-after job among the girls in our profession. Tonight, to match our weather, we've found a breath of London spring, the delicious and herself much sought-after Twiggy.
The nominations for the Best Actor are Gene Hackman for The Conversation, Jack Nicholson for The Last Detail and Chinatown, Albert Finney for Murder on the Orient Express, and Al Pacino for Serpico. And the winner is Jack Nicholson for The Last Detail and Chinatown.
Well, it looks as though tonight is technology night. Joanne Woodward was in New York, Ingrid Bergman was in Denver, Colorado, and now Jack Nicholson has further complicated matters by being in Salem, Oregon. I hope that damn satellite is up to the job.
Smashing, who have been chosen Best Actor by the Society this year for my performance in Chinatown. I'd like to thank Madam President and the rest of the members of the Society for this great honor. I wish that I could be with you there in Albert Hall, but as you can see, I've been institutionalized here in Oregon while filming One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with some friends of mine. I understand, however, that Misters Polanski and Town are with you in the audience this evening, and I'm sure that they will take this opportunity to thank Miss Dunaway themselves and the rest of the cast and crew of Chinatown for their contributions. Mr. Town, Mr. Polanski, if you would, please.
Hello, excuse me for interrupting, but Mr. Nicholson has to come with me now.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a great bit.
Oh, that's
that's a great.
Like
when he breaks the glass too, like
it's honestly better than the trailer. I think, like in introducing what this movie is, right? Like,
yeah, it's closer. It's closer to being like, yeah, you're gonna see something that looks a little something like this.
Also, Mr. Polanski, speaking of statutory rape.
Well, yeah. Yes,
she was 13 going on 35, sir. Oh, uncomfortable bit.
I can't believe it took like what 40 years to realize that Roman Polanski and Woody Allen are like creepy, like, and just shouldn't be like having any support.
Not to run defense for Woody Allen, but people should have realized that was the case, because his entire filmography is based on being neurotic and having these weird fixations and like
liking young women too. So it's like a lot of his movies, I'm like, come on, guys, hindsight.
Which it's really funny to watch. We watched The Godfather twice last week, and seeing Diane Keaton in that is very fun. But for me, like realizing that Woody Allen was that kind of monster is like, no, like his whole thing is these weird mental fixations, and it's like, all right, his fixation has to do with his stepdaughter and like whatever, like, but it kind of follows from that same kind of like people wanted someone to express their neuroses on film, but it's like you really pick someone to fucking express their neuroses on film, dude. Like,
yes, so that's all about that guy. But like, yeah, like it's crazy that like
Woody Allen as Jack Nicholson's role in one of the Cuckoo's Nest.
He was with the alternate casting choices. Wow. I'd really like to see the baseball. I'd like to see that.
He would have been a lot more like Chaz, like or whatever that.
Right?
Dude
Yeah.
Let me get my cigarettes, Mrs. Ratchet.
Couple things for that clip. First of all, Pacino was nominated for Serpico. Serpico, wild underrated, great performance.
Serpico,
absolutely.
That's a yeah. Who can forget the titular line where he goes Serpico?
That Jack Nicholson was nominated for 2 movies.
At the same that's. So if we weren't doing amateurs Al Pacino,
and he forgot one of them.
That was
which one? He forgot the other. He said just Chinatown. So he did in his mind. His output has been so vast within this time period that he only remembers that he was in Chinatown. It's like that's what I'm waiting for, I guess. Like,
I remember that shit too. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. Also,
Chinatown.
Chinatown. Oh yeah, my god, yeah. Fucking alternate casting for Chinatown with Pacino and dead. Holy crap, amazing.
It's Chinatown, Jake.
Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
Oh,
I'm just imagining Jake Flores in the part of Jack. He's like, "Yeah, dude, thanks." And he just walks off.
Well, he had a show. He was performing in Chinatown.
Yeah.
Pacino runs up to him.
Jake, we gotta figure this out. There's been a murder, Jake.
That's Chinatown, baby.
Anyway, that's a hell of a list of nominees. Can we also not bypass the fact that presenter guy, first of all, was like completely distrustful of like
David
the live.
Niven. Put some respect on my man's name.
Look, I give no respect to this guy because I'm gonna tell you why. Because First of all, this is not the reason why, but like they talk about the live feed. If the live feed comes through, whatever, like they don't talk about process at the fucking what BAFTAs. What are they? That's BAFTAs.
The BAFTAs.
I mean, maybe if they're having technical problems earlier,
But when I don't fucking don't know, don't care, don't draw attention to it.
Respect.
Yeah, but more so like when he brings on Twiggy and like that intro about. Like, what does he say about we have some of the girls come up and blah, blah.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some fucking misogyny in there.
Well, and just like that, we lost a dude.
Oh yeah, what's interesting is that James from the internet, he
I tried to unmute myself and failed.
Kicked yourself off your own show.
I was worried about that earlier with Colin because the thing to kick yourself off and the thing to press the mic is right next to each other.
That is bad UI, by the way. Bad UI. But Christina, please speak. Yes.
Yeah. So
anyway, silencing women's terrible.
Yes.
Women.
Great ass. Is that Scarface? I think that's the fact that I don't even remember what that's from just shows. Anyway, Christina, please go ahead.
It's just everything Al Pacino's been in when he starts yelling. I think Scarface was what started it off.
Yeah.
Written by Oliver Stone. Kind of fascinating that that's the case. But anyway, Christina, I'm sorry.
But with the whole we got the girls presenting or whatever, it reminds me of James from the internet. He watches the old game shows from like the late 60s and 70s, like Hollywood Squares, and just the racism and sexism and like, oh my god, I can't believe they were at the anti-Semitism. I'm like, holy shit, like cringe.
I'm trying to watch Supermarket Sweep. No.
I mean, with
times have clearly changed, but things do stay the same, though. We got to admit that.
You didn't expect that they have Ku Klux Klan members on the match game or anything.
I mean, I think game shows have always been the most, ground zero for that because it's kind of the bottom shelf of all reality TV. But I watch a lot of, I run a show called Movie Night Extravaganza. So I watch a lot of old talk shows from the 60s and 70s to find stuff for the show and pull it. And, there's a lot of awkwardness that goes into that. And there's a lot of casual racism. Like even when you're interviewing someone who is of the race, like I was watching the Sidney Poitier stuff when we did when he died and we talked about him at the very beginning. And the way that they introduced talking about his reaction to certain racist interactions that he had was racist. That's how
why did you Or whenever there's that infamous moment of Helen Mirren getting asked on, I don't know if it was Dick Cavett, who I'm friends with on Facebook for some reason as well, who was talking about her figure, her body, her breasts, and talking about that, and she's I'm more than that.
And Dick Cavett is kind of one of the less egregious, I think, examples.
No, absolutely. Dick Cavett actually. Dick Cavett used his platform to put a lot of people that otherwise would never have been on talk shows.
And he also talked about some serious stuff too. So that was always because there's clips of it on his YouTube channel, and I'm like, damn, dude.
He also interviewed. He was the one American talk show host back in the day that was able to interview a blind Kurosawa. That really was on the mainstream platform. So I watched him do that, and he. We watched him also for Mishima within the same week, and he clearly has a love for and interest in Japanese culture as a whole. So it's fascinating to have him. I don't know who's echoing. But it's fascinating.
It's Dick Cavett. He's got a reverb pedal on.
No, but it's fascinating to watch some of his old stuff because he interviews Kurosawa and he clearly has a love for and appreciation for samurai culture. He was asking all these questions about.
He did his homework. So somebody very charitably said that I was the Dick Cavett of weird music interviewers, and I took that as a huge compliment because that's a guy that not only dug deep. But he did all his research, right? So if you watch something oh, it's so and so on Dick Cavett, it'll be way more substance. I'll have more substance.
Yeah, that is one word I know how to pronounce.
What a wild trade up. It'll have more substance than it would if you had like on Carson or something. Even though Carson was so much bigger, like Cavett would go, it would be a more interesting archival piece.
Although I would compare you to Anne Murray because her interviews are amazing.
Yeah.
Like I mean, seriously, like go back, watch any of her. She interviewed Iggy Pop and David Bowie was there, and she's like trying to interview David Bowie. And David Bowie's like, "What? No, have Iggy, we have a Jim. You know, talk to Jim. He's right there." And it ended up being a fantastic interview because she actually like was pulling back from her experience and talking to Iggy Pop about it. But
well, with the exception of maybe Joan Rivers, most ladies who end up in that position do end up being better at it because they literally have to be. Now, Joan Rivers is like half her thing is being loud, obnoxious, and like whatever. I get it. I'm loud.
She used to never always be like that. I mean, watching her old like stuff from like Ed Sullivan, I'm like,
she changed up her entire thing because that's what played. And since that's what played, she's no dummy. Say, people joke about like the plastic surgery.
Like, well, I'm gonna deal with sexism and misogyny. I might as well play into it.
She joked about the plastic surgery.
And she joked about that. I mean, she's smart lady. But the thing is, so to speak to your point, Andy, like someone, and they did a really, it might have been CNN, unfortunately, they did a really cool thing called History of Late Night. That was just like kind of went into all of this, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll watch that. I mean, I guess it's kind of one of the things I do. Might as well check it out. But it's interesting to see like what sticks and what doesn't. Like, I mean, let's be real. Dennis Miller was in real contention to be like the next guy.
Yeah.
Right. Like that didn't happen for him. And like, we can all, think whatever deity you may or may not believe in for that.
I think he would have been better at that than, although I don't know. We watched,
but this is 80s Dennis Miller. So he was snide, kind of coked up. The jokes.
I'm trying to remember what episode we had that I didn't even, it was when we talked about, another passing away episode. We talked about, Paris, Texas. And,
yeah, of course.
And there was the interview that he did, about around the time of that, and I didn't even realize in my head that it was him that was like talking about climate change. He's like, really, is climate change really what we have to be worried about right now? Like doing that whole thing, and doing the actually.
Is that when Feldman was writing for him?
Was Feldman writing for him?
David Feldman wrote for Miller.
He also wrote for Bill Maher.
And
again, these are both dudes that at one point were funny a very long time ago. Let's also remember
changed.
Roseanne,
written for by an old lefty from way back.
Yeah, exactly. Roseanne, he should be in the show. I'd be more excited about him being on the show than freaking Bill Maher or Dave Letterman. Frankly,
I wonder what other memorable moments.
I'd be stoked for David Letterman. David Letterman, come on, move extravaganza. You and your beard. You'll have a separate box just for the beard. It'll be fantastic.
I'm Facebook friends with Feldman because he was the one that, interestingly enough, he was the one that set up a lot of the production stuff for Ben.
Didn't he have Jason on or something recently or something?
Yeah. Well, he said everybody on. His first thing was
didn't have me on.
He
didn't have everybody.
Like, everyone on from that like left space. But his original thing is he had Michael Brooks and Ben Burgess on, kind of rotating, and had them on as regular That's how Ben decided that he would be good doing a podcast, and that's Michael. Michael, of course, got some of the most classic bits of all fucking time. Amazing lefty from way back. I still can't. I'd never asked him about this before he passed away. I never asked him if he actually didn't expect that Feldman was going to do that bit. I don't think he did because his reaction to it is so priceless. But he had when I went to, and this is actually where I met Ben in person. When I went to the final TMBS live show. He had Feldman backstage pretending to amazing fucking bit, pretending to be reporting live from whether it was Nevada or South Carolina. I think it was South Carolina.
Nevada. It's pronounced Nevada.
All right. Well,
everybody gets it wrong, and it makes me insane when I hear it.
Nevada. Anyway, no, but
Nevada. It's like no, that's fucking wrong. Yeah, it's fucking wrong. Don't say it. It's Oregon, not Oregon. It's
moving on from that.
Well, you're speaking. Yeah, you're like giving like another
South Carolina. I think it was South Carolina.
Oregon's of the dogs. Am I right?
It's actually
the next primary.
Carolina.
He had Feldman pretending to report live from the ground, but he was backstage, and he never even revealed that Feldman was backstage until the end of it. And Feldman was talking into a microphone and pretending that he was reporting live from wherever the next primary was, was like shitting on fucking Bernie's chances. And Michael was like, yeah, but like Feldman was doing it as a bit because he does the Lefty from Way Back character. He was doing that, but he was pretending he was on the ground in a primary state and was literally just backstage, like talking into a microphone.
Well, he's so great at that deadpan-ish thing, right? So you're like, is this like for real? Like what? I mean, because I do kind of know people like this, and they kind of sound anyway.
I still don't know if he was. I don't think Michael was prepared for that when he did the original Lefty from Way Back, where he was like Elizabeth Warren. It kept like conflating that and like muddying the waters. Like I think Michael literally just said, "Hey, do you want to come on and talk about Bernie and his chances?" Yeah. And Feldman was like, "Yeah," and then Feldman comes out with that fucking. At one point, it was a 35-minute bit. It was a 35-minute Lefty from Way Back bit that killed it the entire fucking time.
I'm sure.
You watch that front to back and just like laugh the entire way because he escalates. I mean, he knows comedy writing like nobody else, and he knows that he has to escalate that bit even if it's improv. Yeah. So he like escalates it slowly throughout 35 minutes, and it's like, holy shit, dude! Like I think this is improv, and like that's fucking good. Like it's funny the whole time because he just gets more and more. He muddies the water more and more, and Michael asks him those questions and like needles him about it. And throughout the 35 minutes, it's just like a full bit.
It never breaks. Yeah, it never breaks on too. Yeah. So Roseanne also, she was the heir apparent for the talk show world. Roseanne Barr.
Oh yeah.
Pre MAGA turn.
You mean pre-NyQuil?
Pre-Valium?
Oh yeah, pre-NyQuil.
No,
was it Valium?
No, was it? She was on Ambien. Pre-Ambien.
Ambien. Yeah. That the drug that fucking she's not the first person to blame some weird outbursts on Ambien, and it's kind of fascinating because that is it does just put you to sleep. So it's like what
I mean? Okay, so can I tell the story there? Maybe not. An ex of mine frequently took Ambien. I got some stories. Let's put it that way.
Well, you get weird.
Of which that she had no memory of whatsoever.
Where people like slept, walked, and ate sandwiches and kept gaining weight and didn't understand why they were putting on so much weight because they were eating at night because of the Ambien.
Slept, sex, and ate an entire cake. Yeah. Well, actually, that does sound like Roseanne. Yeah. But anyway, whatever. That's neither here nor there. Anyway, that's nothing with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. We're ostensibly discussing, right?
Hey, I have a clip.
Christina, didn't you have like something you wanted to say like 20 minutes ago, something like that?
No.
Nobody ever remembers that. By the way,
I do remember. I did want to say something about smoking.
Play the clip. No.
No, I was gonna make the joke about the time that Christina came on Trazodone.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
I was like,
try to gaslight her into thinking she said some like horrendous, Roseanne Barr style shit.
It's crazy when you work that anti-Semitic material and it was wild. That was just Beetlejuice, not
you said what about the Obama administration?
That'd be terrible. God,
this is so recent. You can tell.
Yeah, so this is it was an anniversary of some type. My anniversary with Danny DeVito. We're married.
It was apparently their 100th birthday each. So
Well, fucking how long ago did Kirk Douglas die? 2 years ago. He was 104, and he was surviving off fucking what is it? The child's blood. Adrenochrome. No, he wasn't, but he looked like he was. He looked like he was keeping himself alive with the blood of orphans.
Yeah, they had like the orphans like tied upside down, so like the blood would just like come out and go straight into him.
Yeah, in the Oregon Psychiatric Hospital, which you think people would notice, but
Yeah, you think by the way, this is what the content people crave for the after parties.
Yeah, the camera never pans out, so you don't see it.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't know. We were both babes in the woods, but it was the biggest reaffirmation of trusting your instincts. And because we had to wait an additional 6 months for Jack Nicholson to be freed up, we had this longer period of casting time to put these groups together to get our ensemble group. And it's a mixture. You work with a really good director like Milos Forman, who had done pictures before, like The Fireman's Ball, which had a large cast. And so we just found the right people. But Danny instigated, being the first person out of the box. And by the time we got up to Salem, Oregon, to start shooting, we knew we were in really good shape, because we had 2 weeks of rehearsal at the mental hospital.
I remember that.
And again,
was
talking about
amazing.
producing, everybody thought we were crazy.
Yeah,
Why
was
are you
amazing.
shooting this in January when there's no light in Oregon in a real mental hospital, when you could have been on a set down here and it would have been so much easier? And we, the fools that we were, Saul and I, thought, I don't know, the ambiance of being around real patients and all of that.
But
all of this was just instinctively
that all
turned out
added to the whole
to
thing,
help
like,
help a lot. So Jack arrived a week later from the rehearsals, and these guys were into it. And they were actually doing and meeting and doing group therapy sessions with actual patients and stuff. And Jack came in the first day, and I remember at lunch, we stopped at lunch, and everybody's having lunch, and he throws his plate away, and he goes outside, and I'm the producer. Oh, God, we got problems. We got trouble already. Jack, what's wrong? What's wrong? He goes, who are these guys? Who are these actors? They don't stop. It's lunchtime. Doesn't anybody take a break around here? And everybody was so much into their characters and were that person. And that's when I knew we had something special.
Yeah, he had no idea what hit him when he came up there. It was like we had, the great thing about that choice was that, like you say, you could have built sets or done anything like that. But you and Michael and Saul, I think especially you and Milos, really wanted us to live there at the institution. There were these little cells that we all had as dressing room kind of things. We were in these little
dressing
cells.
rooms were the cells.
And Milos had a cell. Jack had a cell. We all had cells along that hallway where the orderlies dragged Billy Bibbit, and that was real. That was the real deal.
Listen, the Producers Guild of America really has that theme down.
Yeah. Our theme kicks the shit out of that theme, personally, I think.
Hey, we're gonna play it right now. It is. Our intro for this month is banging, and I really wish we had it for the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, sorry.
You can go back and edit it.
I was a bit. Yeah, exactly. We'll just we'll pull a Star Wars special edition on it.
I am fascinated by
suddenly Andy shot first. Go ahead.
The this show aspect of that interview, where Danny DeVito is trying to get a word in edgewise for a good the first minute and a half.
He's just like,
yeah, exactly. And then every time he tries, Michael Douglas does the thing that I do and just talks right over. He keeps going.
I wonder, do you think anyone's ever corrected him that Milos Forman doesn't have an H at the end of his first name? Because it doesn't seem like anyone's has. Because
Milos Yiannopoulos. The old
yes. The famous director, Milos. What were we going to say, Christina? Please.
Nothing.
I was just going to say, I always thought that he was the foreman to my cat, Milo. So is Milos Forman. But I guess I'm wrong.
No, I think he is. I don't think he hasn't. Like, no one else does it with an H.
This is why that bit wasn't in the main show.
Yes,
I don't understand why. That one didn't land, huh?
Milos, come here. Now, when
maybe
you
if I had my cat
over to the cuckoo's nest and so on, right?
Forrest did his 20-minute David Feldman bit about smoking, apparently, and then Andy did whatever that was, and that's what the content people crave for the Patreon. Please subscribe. You don't know. Oh, they've seen it.
We're live right now on everything.
No refunds. Sorry, go ahead. Just trying to have a laugh.
So this is the last clip I'll play for this part of it.
That should be my
This is I found this interesting. So this movie, obviously, I want to talk about Jack Nicholson. And I mean, he obviously is it.
You mean Al Pacino?
Jack Black. Sorry.
Jack Black.
No,
Jack Flores. What?
It's gonna be an amazing thing when we finally do in a couple months. Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, and I keep calling him Jack Nicholson.
That's we call that the long game in the comedy.
So this is the last clip I'll play. It's a couple minutes. It's Jack Nicholson giving his AFI. He got a Lifetime Achievement Award. I think his career is fascinating because I don't think that
he's pretty much retired.
Yeah,
well,
he's like,
yeah.
I pretty much sit around underneath a tree. That's my day.
And go to a Lakers game every.
Jack Nicholson sounds a whole lot like Elizabeth Warren. Here's
the thing, people. I sit around by a tree.
Imagine won't go over the Cuckoo's Nest, but it's Elizabeth Warren
as Nurse Ratched or as McMurphy. Either one.
No, as Chief.
It's everybody.
Chief, you can talk. Here's the thing.
I just had to, how the hell is not Native American? You're not like, why would you? I had to do that. I had to say it.
Chief, here's the thing.
Here's the thing, people.
I love. That's my favorite gum.
Christina dropping the bomb. That's yeah.
But yeah, so I want to.
That would get a laugh out of a former president, So
I want to talk about Jack Nicholson's career. I think it's a career that can only have happened. Him and actually Dennis Hopper, who plays into this too, because Dennis Hopper directed Easy Rider, which is the film that Jack Nicholson made his bones in. I guess.
Never heard of it.
And
his head, the Monkeys movie.
So
Danger World, everybody. Yes.
So kind of having that as an opening thing, it's this moment where the studio system has totally collapsed. And we talk about this over and over and over again within the context of both this show and the This Is Revolution streams that we do. But this moment of kind of like the second coming of like auteur cinema in Hollywood, where you're no longer just looking at the studio system that kind of traps these actors into lifetime contracts. I don't think Jack Nicholson or Dennis Hopper could have maintained that level of sanity throughout. I mean, not that people within that system were sane, but like that level of consistency where you're just working for a long time contract. I sound like Renee probably would have sounded if she came on. I got my voice is going. But
I think I said Michael Douglas with his no.
Oh yeah, and his throat cancer
from oral sex apparently.
Yeah, cunnilingus cancer. Yes.
Cunnilingus.
Cunnilingus.
So I don't think I'm not making this patrons only. This is staying on our,
some ribald material.
Yeah,
what pussy's so good?
I don't.
We literally have pussy on stream right now.
Yeah.
It was so funny to have Varn, who's so serious about everything when we have him on things, and he was just seriously going into fucking the plot of Rand, and Andy's like, "Was he so good?"
Did they get you banned from Facebook too? Astounding.
For a week.
But so all right, so what I'm trying to line up here is that Jack Nicholson is kind of having this insane run of movies throughout.
Yeah, it's a historically fantastic. He's in that 70s time period. There's so many good runs, but this has got to be one of like the best, right? It's just like hit after hit after hit, like incredible film after incredible film, like amazing, right?
And someone who couldn't have, I don't think, made it within that old Hollywood structure. And just like Dennis Hopper couldn't have made it within that old Hollywood structure. It's like someone who's kind of so insane in such an interesting way that they're perfect for this time period. As they say in The Big Lebowski, sometimes there's a man, and it felt like Jack Nicholson's that man.
Well, and like you mentioned, Easy Rider, which as much as it plays off like boomer fan fiction now, I mean, it's still a fantastic film, and like Dennis Hopper directed that, right? And that was a movie that like shook up the world, right? I mean, you had Peter Fonda, like you have like this quintessential rebel tale, right? That like just happened to be the exact right move at the exact right time, and it wouldn't have worked if it wasn't a good movie. But it kind of it was one of those movies that like hit at the same time, you know, along with that the folks inspired by the French New Wave, and we saw that incredible run of like 70s directors, like some of which are favorites of this show, that just they threw away that whole like studio system rule book to great effect, and it led to interesting, daring movies such as this one. Even though this movie is based off a book that came out, you know, in a much different time period, it's so rooted in its era.
Yeah,
so absolutely rooted in its era.
And I mean, Coppola, I mean, talking about like the conversation and that thing, right, that came out a year before. Coppola,
when he wasn't trash talking unions, yeah.
I mean, that's all he really did. But watching The Godfather is so funny because obviously that's like one of his first like big Hollywood, like, you know, huge movie. And the first, like, one of the things Tom Hagen says, he's fucking yelling about like, we're gonna have the union so far up your ass, like.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like he lingers a little bit too long on that scene.
Or no, he has. Wait, Tom Hagen says something like, if you ever have problems with the union and you need that crushed or something, like he has a line that's like,
it's.
And I was like, oh god, the unions again. All right, so this is Jack Nicholson accepting the AFI Lifetime Film Award, talking about you know, because he did a retrospective, he did all his movies. So much fascinating shit, by the way, with number one AFI, but also like a lot of these like retrospectives when someone kind of ends up getting an award when they've had this prestigious career. If you're running a movie podcast, you have to use those sources.
It's the law.
What year is this?
This is I'll look it up. I'll look it up and tell you at the end.
Because I had studied the book, I had more than probably was good ideas about the screenplay. And Michael, I said, well, Michael, I'll read it again, Milo. I said, Milos and I had hung out at film festivals like this Festival Rats just before this. I knew him and knew that he started as a screenwriter to begin with. And, you know, we talked, if a Czech and an American can a common language. When I reminisce about, you know, now we start... you know, I just talked to Michael last week. He stopped by. He said, I'll never forget your face when you saw that cast come off that plane the first time. Because, you know, I knew sort of who Bill Redfield was and Billy Dewell. And I knew Sidney Lassick as a kind of an apocryphal story, but I'd never seen Danny DeVito, who looked pretty weird in the picture, Christopher Lloyd. You know, plenty of these people I still don't understand. Dalo Smith is in the picture. He's a philanthropist from the Midwest with a beard. I could see where they sat. And I thought Milos got, you know, he's gone Eastern European. He's gone into some modern day bedlam and gotten a bunch of nuts to be in the picture. Michael told you about that. The other one was, I'd seen the play a couple of times. Warren Oates did it here in Los Angeles. And I was always bothered. In fact, I you won't believe this, but I turned down The Godfather because I thought Italians should, you know, it was that period in the early 60s, so they should get a, you know, up till then, you know, Tony Franciosa's being an out for the movies, or so Italians should play it. And in this case, you know, I wasn't sure I was right and so forth, was it? But the one thing was the big Indian, right? I'd seen Italians and so forth. Now, here comes the first time I see him. You know, Will Sampson had a cowboy hat on, this big braids with red ribbons in it, checked dungarees, and a big portfolio with his drawings, quite beautiful drawings in it like this. I see, all I could think was, geez, he is the biggest goddamn Indian I ever saw. Guy is correct for the part. I mean, a lot about the casting. I'd asked
Louise Fletcher. Now, I had asked Anne Bancroft about it. I don't like necessarily asking and all this and so forth. And I thought she, the ladies, Colleen, they didn't want to play heavies in this period, which kind of shocked me as a male chauvinist. But my friend Fred Roos, who I'm sure is down with somebody else on this deal, mentioned Louise Fletcher, whom I had seen in Thieves Like Us. That's all he had to say, because when you see those dish blue eyes of a murderer, you know what I mean, in that sweet woman's face, that was it. She's in the picture. And Scatman Crothers is in the picture, who I promised when we did King of Marvin Gardens, he already had the part. God love him, he was still hustling me after he had it. He said, relax, I'm going to put you in 4 or 5, half a dozen classics, Scatman, before we're finished, which we almost made the top of it. Marvin Gardens, The Shining, The Fortune, and this.
All right, there's Jack Nicholson, everybody.
Down. Anyway, I want to shout out. I don't know how I haven't mentioned this yet, but Will Sampson, a Muskogee of the Muskogee Native American, nation. I think he gives a stellar performance in this.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying I can't believe he came up so little in the main show. But I mean, there was a lot to talk about, right? So
yeah,
it makes sense. But like, my favorite character, by the way.
It's really sad that like he's no longer here, and neither is his son, Tim. I believe his son's name is Tim. And Tim played the chief character in the episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia as a tribute to his father.
Oh, that's awesome! I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
And he's also a beautiful painter. Like just go online, look up his paintings. They are gorgeous.
Yeah, it's sad because I think Tim, he passed away a few years ago. I know some people like to say I'm kind of into the Poltergeist curse because Will Sampson died after production of Poltergeist 2, I believe, because he was in that.
And he died of scleroderma.
Yeah.
It's an autoimmune disease, so it was it does seem like a lot of times with Native American the reservation system, and also just Native American, it's the way that we've treated them throughout throughout these last
not great.
Yeah,
did not treat them great.
It amounts to a genocide.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And I'll do the Marlon Brando thing where I just invite someone to accept my award from an American tribe on my behalf. But it does feel like a lot of the problems where people from Native American tribes die at a very young age is something that I mean, I don't know necessarily if it's this, but it does seem like if it's something like an autoimmune disorder, it is generations of
it was a degenerative heart disease. I think it has something to do with his height.
So for him, it might have been.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
But it was scleroderma. I don't.
You sound like a drunk guy trying to say an actress's name. That's
it's Vincent Schiavelli, bud.
It's a scleroderma. She's fantastic. She should win all the awards.
Classically results in Renault's phenomenon, which is something I have actually. So I hope I don't.
Well, you drive a Renault?
Have it from a larger problem, but
phenomenon, really.
No, Renault's phenomenon is you lose all circulation in your hands if they get cold in your limbs, and I have that very badly. But they used to turn blue.
I don't have any jokes for that. Sorry.
But, yeah. Well, sorry that you don't have jokes for my. Definitely, you can. No, that's. It's
First of all, how dare you? Secondly, I have ALS in my family. Yeah. So Andy has to get off in within 20 minutes. So I don't want his business.
Labor too hard on anything in particular. This is that clip was from 1994. I did want to answer Andy's question with that. Which is also
because he was still working at that point too.
Yeah, before he retired. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It's also the year I was born.
Oh God, I'm a year older than you.
I do not agree. Discount Seth Rogen.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Looks like discount Tucker Carlson with that bow tie.
As the listenership drops by 1. Force individually bullies the fans of the show.
Oh boy.
You're listening to my podcast. How can I individually bully you and kick you off?
Yeah,
Who are you, Bad Bunny?
I like her. I don't watch her Twitch stuff, but I like her tweets. Yeah. So I think that there was someone else's performance I wanted to mention that I didn't get to, and I'm trying.
Danny DeVito's?
Well, Danny DeVito's was really good, and he has a really funny during that AFI thing.
And Brad too. His performance was really good too.
He roasts Jack Nicholson for a full 5 minutes during the.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Maybe I'll play us out with that once Andy has to get off. But
I like that it was like a Shining Taxi mashup.
Oh, Scatman Crothers. That's who I wanted to mention. His performance it was so fucking good, and we didn't talk about that at all. And I love Scatman Crothers. I love him in every movie that I see him in. I don't listen
every
to
movie with Jack
Scatman. But there's a clip of him. And if we ever talk about The Shining, I'll definitely play it. There's a clip of him doing the Scatman thing. He's scatting about the actual Shining, and he goes live on TV. They're talking to him about it, and he starts doing a song. He's like, so he has like his fingers going, and he starts going like, and then he goes into like the whole thing though, and starts rhyming like Kubrick's name and The Shining, and like he kind of does this thing that's almost like some kind of like rap, proto rap, I guess in some ways. Like he kind of rhymes Kubrick's name, and he has this whole song that he's come up with, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna market this later. And I don't know, I found it fascinating. I'm like, who the fuck freestyles pretty much during a interview? Like that's crazy. Even rappers don't do
Crothers,
that.
Man. Yeah, exactly.
They're like, you're the scat man. Scat for us and tell us what. This is literally like the verse is like scat for us and tell us what The Shining is about.
And also too, Brad's performance. You would not think that like a decade later that'd be Chucky.
Yes.
And to this day, he still voices Chucky. Like you can't not. I mean, Mark Hamill
took his job.
Yeah, Mark Hamill did fine with the remake.
Yeah,
but
the movie wasn't as good as the original, but like the line "I did it for Tupac" was great.
Yeah,
I am a big fan of his work in Deadwood. I think his character in Deadwood is quite good. Also,
the X-Files episode he did in the first season, where he played this crazy person who's I think Scully put away, and he's like channeling her father who just passed away. Which by coincidence is an actor from Stargate SG-1. But his performance in that
too bad Erica isn't here to note the Stargate reference. I think she has a tally board.
Yes. It's
I mean, she has it right in her room, and it's a little weird that she keeps it there, because she's she goes on the show a lot, but not.
Busy lady, you think she'd have better things to do with her time? I don't know.
Oh, the Bob's Burger movie's coming out on May 27th.
But no, he's fantastic in just about everything I've seen him in, except for that terrible the Boz movie. You know Brian Bosworth?
Mm.
Yeah.
You mean Barry Bosworth?
No.
I was just
there was a football player who did like
I don't know anything
a couple
about
of bad action films. One of them is actually worth watching, and the rest are garbage.
Okay, there you go. There's your Andy World Minute.
So I'm gonna play us out with Danny DeVito.
Play us out. What does that mean? Play us out.
Oh, no, I'm gonna play this and then go to whatever. So because we already did our final thoughts and everything.
I thought this was a successful. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense. That's what people pay for. The content people crave, as we've adequately established.
I think
a lot of stuff I hope doesn't end up on the internet. And it's on the internet already. So there you go. Already failed.
I like that we did the more serious stuff. I kind of
me too.
Having Marina on to give a perspective of someone that's actually worked in the field of psychiatrics, that was amazing. Having me and Christina on as someone who's been through the system of psychiatric hospitalization.
Yeah, guess what?
As is very common in our
because of policy, I have to see a therapist now. And I'm like, you do realize I'm paying out of pocket for this shit, right? That's like $92 down the drain every month now.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have Medicaid, but my therapist is through like private stuff right now, and the Medicaid, the people that very, very reminiscent of this movie, like and kind of state psychiatric care. The people that they put you through with, Medicaid or any kind of state-run, mental health treatment are like usually the people that are kind of the most like, whatever, like, don't really care about, actually, or aren't even capable of necessarily fully diagnosing something and talking it through. So it's like even in this system where mental health is really, I think, at least corporations kind of fetishize it, right? Like, oh, well, self-care and like you really need to take care of yourself. Like they do the thing all the time with that meme where it's like, well, men will literally blah 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 instead of going to therapy. And it's like, yeah, but like it's still a very tiered system. Like your therapeutic issues are not going to get worked through. Thank you guys for being my therapy. Anyway, no, but like your therapeutic issues are not going to get worked through unless it's someone that actually, number one, gives a fuck, but also kind of has training in these certain areas. And the people that are taking like Medicaid or something like that aren't necessarily the same people. So I think this movie kind of hits hard for that reason too. And
that's why I'm on all this stuff.
Yeah,
I got to. I was gonna say.
Go ahead, Conan.
Volkswagen, any choice?
Hold on, this is me trying to pause the. Hold on.
Do we have a new sponsor?
No, it's just I have two screens and my Mac wasn't pausing the second screen while I was getting the DVD to clip up.
I'm glad that I got to drop in the term ruinous empathy, which I'm pretty sure I coined, but I think everybody got immediately because I in the course of the first stream, the main episode.
I thought you were saying the First World War, which is our Murder Night Extravaganza stream, of course.
Oh yeah, right. Which is the wrap up of which is still going on right now to this day. Like everyone got it immediately because I was talking about is like identifying too much with what's her backstory? Why does she be that way? That it's ruinous empathy is just that. It doesn't mean like don't have empathy for others. Just don't ruin yourself by having empathy for those that do not deserve it. And
or just the concept of empathy being something performative, right?
And something that has ruinous effect. And like I said, I actually had that as a song title and I chickened out and never wrote it because I was like, whatever. But like I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I just thought of that. Maybe I didn't. I don't know, but it was perfect to drop in this show. Especially as I was leading the charge for, yes, but Ratchet is good, actually. Although I didn't actually say that.
Well, I think you did coin that term. I haven't heard that term, but there is the whole thing about.
Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Someone will let me know if I didn't. I know.
Not just a space of empathy for people that don't deserve it, which I would say is, like how many times have you seen someone on TV lately try to psychoanalyze or like psychologize Putin, right, or something.
Psychoanalyze.
I mean, but it's not even psychoanalysis. It's like psychologize. Like it's literally just like
look for the motivation and look for like trying to like walk yourself a mile in the person's shoes. Sometimes like don't walk in those shoes. Like you don't need to do that.
Like who would want to walk in nurse's shoes, man? Like
Yeah, that's
empathy is trademarked.
Is it really?
But so there's that side of it. But then there's also famously like both Bill Clinton and Joe Biden kind of have this famous thing where they have famous displays of empathy, right? Like people, and it's performative.
But they're also creeps.
Yeah, but like it's fully performative in the sense of like
details.
They meet people, and it's like politicos and West Wing heads love to comment on.
I
Bill
feel
Clinton
your pain.
So that kind of thing. And so kind of in both ways, right? Ruinous empathy. Number one, empathy for people that we shouldn't, because the only way that we can kind of connect to these characters in some way, they assume they, being the Hollywood and TV system, the
liberal elites, people.
Alex Jones sounds a lot like Elizabeth Warren.
I could just get more grappling in Elizabeth Warren and Alex Jones. Who knew?
But yeah,
Master
but,
impressionist Conan Neutron over here.
So there's that, and it kind of ruins the characterization. I don't think that having
it's
empathy
better.
makes,
It's better to not know anything about her or her motivations or her backstory, even what she does when she's not being the antagonist. It makes it worse if you know more.
Yeah. They don't even include in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I'm glad that they don't, the clip of him meeting Nurse Ratched. But I do think it's interesting in the context of talking through this thing because there's a lot of body language and stuff. Hire me, MSNBC. I'm a body language expert. There's a lot of body language within that, but within those scenes. That
I was composing the quip at the moment you said that. So yeah,
there's a lot of stuff within those deleted scenes that I think when we're talking in the context of trying to analyze this movie play out a lot. But I don't think that if those scenes were placed within the movie, they would make the movie better. So I think that's kind of interesting. I think that there's a big difference between what helps you throughout analysis of a piece of media or a piece of literature or anything else really, and what helps you out if you're just watching it. But anyway,
Andy and I jumped at the same moment. I want to give him the chance before he goes to bed or retires to his coffin or whatever he's doing to say whatever he wanted to say, which is probably long since past.
I don't even remember at this point, so that's fine.
Okay, sorry.
All right, well, I'm gonna go right to the outro.
Oh yeah, this is great. This
Thank
is
you
good.
Guys.
This is a good conversation. We should do more of these. I'm totally down to do more of these.
Well, we're going to be kind of doing something like that on Sunday, right?
How about next week? Exactly. Sure. What's happening Sunday?
Well, Sunday's thing with Gabe. I think we're going to be doing.
Oh right, yes. I gotta watch that. Anyway.
Yeah, I gotta watch that too.
You gotta mute that.
Same here.
But yeah, so I'm gonna thank you guys for being part of this. I gotta remember to unmute this.
Continue to be a patron. We appreciate you giving us money. No refunds.
Well, this is on live. This is live right now, but it had a decent showing for some of the probably just patrons. So hey, listen, thank you guys. This has been great. This is Danny DeVito in his hit single "Roasting Jack Nicholson."
My cousin Celeste and his sister Lorraine were best friends. Celeste used to come into my sister's beauty parlor. I gave shampoos. They didn't want me to. I just like getting my fingers in women's wet hair. I was 13. Anyway, Celeste would come in and all she talked about was Lorraine's brother, Jack. How talented he was, how handsome he was. I was going to Hollywood to be a big movie star. I used to have to squirt shampoo in her eyes just to shut her up. I thought she was bullshitting me. But she wasn't. Because Jack came back to Jersey, 1958. But this time, his head was 20 feet high, and his name was on the marquee of the Neptune Drive-In. Jack Nicholson, big black blasted letters. Crybaby killer. Whoa. Oh. Man, I remember sitting on the hood of my father's Oldsmobile watching that movie. I said, man, this guy ain't no good. I mean, like, woo! I mean, I don't know, maybe it was because, I was sick and tired of hearing about you day in and day out. I just wanted them to bomb. Can you imagine that, wanting somebody to bomb? You can't imagine that. 50 films in 36 years. That's it. A few of them better than Crybaby Killer. Some of them excellent. One of them brilliant. I won't mention the name of that film. So, you don't create a body of work because you want to win awards, do you, Jack? So why? Fame? No. He's not a man who desires fame, preferring to lead a quiet, contemplative life in his simple home in the hills. So what's it about? Money? No. 60 million in the bank, who needs money? So it's not about money or fame or awards. Then what? Women? Well, there's nothing to lead us to believe that. I mean, in my humble opinion, what it's about is immortality. Jack Nicholson's lifetime is 1937 to infinity. That's what it's about, right, Jack? No? Women? So I chose wrong. I respect you. I admire you. I love you.